Picture this. You're 8 months pregnant, glowing, happy, married to a billionaire, and then you get a wedding invitation in the mail from your ex-husband, the one who cheated on you while you were pregnant with triplets, the one who abandoned you in the hospital, the one who's now marrying the woman he had an affair with. Most people would throw that invitation in the trash, maybe set it on fire. But Sloan Mitchell Sterling did something nobody expected. She got dressed in a designer gown that cost more than her ex's car payment. She brought her 3 beautiful children. She walked into that country club with her new husband on her arm. And what happened next? Well, let's just say that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. This is the story of a woman who chose impossible, a wedding that became a reckoning, and the moment when the truth became impossible to hide. Buckle up, because this 90-minute journey is going to take you through every emotion you didn't know you needed to feel. The sound of tearing paper cut through the quiet kitchen. The wedding invitation fell from Sloane's hands and landed face up on the marble counter, mocking her with its rose gold calligraphy. She stood frozen, one hand instinctively moving to protect her pregnant belly. 8 months along, and she still had moments where the baby's kicks startled her back into her body. Derek Thornton and Brittany Hayes request the pleasure of your company. The pleasure of her company. She read the words 3 times before they made sense. He actually sent this to her address. The penthouse address he had never bothered learning when they were married, when she was pregnant with the triplets and begging him to come home before midnight just once. Her phone sat on the counter. She reached for it, thumb hovering over his contact. Lock, unlock, lock. The muscle memory was still there after 2 years. That instinct to call him and ask why, to demand an explanation, to hear his voice tell her she was overreacting, being dramatic, making something out of nothing. She locked the phone and set it down. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Mason stood in the doorway, his dark hair sticking up from his nap. 4 years old and already too observant, already learning to read her moods the way she had learned to read Derek's silences. Sloane wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm not crying, baby, just thinking." "About Daddy?" The question landed like a fist. She forced a smile. "About lots of things. Did you sleep good?" He nodded but didn't leave the doorway. His small face was serious, worried. She hated that he had learned worry so young. Hated that his father had taught all 3 of them to walk on eggshells before they could even walk steady. The sound of a key in the lock made them both turn. Rachel swept in, her red hair pulled into a messy bun, arms full of shopping bags. "I come bearing gifts and also wine, though I know you can't have the wine, but I can, and I feel like I'm going to need it because I saw Jennifer at the grocery store and she gave me the look, you know the look, the one that says I know something you don't know, and now I'm spiraling, so please tell me everything is fine." Rachel stopped, looked at Sloane's face, looked at the invitation on the counter. "Please tell me that's not what I think it is." Sloane picked up the invitation and handed it to her best friend. Rachel read it, her expression shifting from confusion to disbelief to pure rage in under 10 seconds. "Oh, it's exactly what you think it is," Sloane said. Her voice sounded hollow even to her own ears. "He invited me to his wedding, to the woman he cheated with while I was pregnant." "Honey," Rachel set down her bags carefully, deliberately. "I've been biting my tongue for years, but Derek Thornton is a special kind of stupid." Mason giggled at the word stupid. Rachel winked at him. "Sorry, buddy, but your dad is being very silly right now." "That's one word for it," Sloane muttered. Rachel moved closer, her voice dropping. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Ignore it. Throw it away. Wonder for the rest of my life why he sent it." Sloane laughed, but it came out bitter. "Maybe I should send a gift, a toaster. Isn't that what you're supposed to do?" "You know what would really kill him?" Rachel's eyes gleamed. "If you actually showed up. Not angry, not crying, just unbothered. Like you're attending a work function. Polite, distant, completely moved on." The idea was absurd. Sloane opened her mouth to say so. The lock clicked again. This time Alexander came through the door. 6'2", gray suit, perfectly tailored, briefcase in one hand and his phone in the other. He looked up, saw Sloane's face, and his entire demeanor shifted. "What happened?" He crossed to her in 3 strides, one hand cupping her face, the other settling on her belly where the baby was kicking. His touch was warm, steady, everything Derek's had never been. Sloan handed him the invitation without a word. Alex read it, his jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. He's trying to provoke you. The question is why. Maybe he just wants me to see him happy, Sloan said. Maybe this is his way of showing me he moved on. By inviting his 8 months pregnant ex-wife to his wedding? Alex raised an eyebrow. That's not moving on. That's something else entirely. Rachel cleared her throat. Mason, sweetie, why don't you go check on your sister? I think I hear Harper singing in the playroom. Mason hesitated, looking at his mother. Sloan nodded. Go on, baby. I'll be there in a minute. When Mason left, Alex pulled out his phone. He scrolled through something, his expression darkening. Marcus sent me an email this morning. I thought it could wait until tonight. What email? Sloan felt her stomach drop. Derek's attorney contacted Marcus about modifying the child support agreement. Alex looked up, his blue eyes intense. They're claiming financial hardship due to new family expenses. The room tilted. Sloan gripped the counter. New family expenses. He's been with Brittany for what, 2 years? They can't afford to live the life they want and still support the children they already have. Apparently not. Alex's voice was tight with controlled anger. The wedding invitation isn't just an invitation, Sloan. It's a power play. He wants you off balance, emotional. Maybe he thinks if you crash the wedding in a rage, he can use it as evidence that you're unstable. Rachel made a noise somewhere between a laugh and a growl. That manipulative son of a... But here's what he doesn't know. Alex set down the invitation and took both of Sloan's hands. We have 3 years of documented payments. We have the custody agreement he signed. We have Marcus, who is the best family attorney in the state. And we have something he'll never have. What's that? Sloan whispered. The truth. Alex smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a man who built a billion-dollar company by outthinking his competition. If you want to go to this wedding, we go together. You, me, and the children. We show him exactly what you walked away from him for. We show him that his attempts to intimidate you do nothing except prove how small he is. Sloan looked at Rachel, who was nodding enthusiastically. She looked at Alex, who was watching her with patient confidence. She looked at the invitation with its rose gold calligraphy and its carefully chosen words. Derek wanted her off balance. Derek wanted her to react. Derek wanted proof that she was still hung up on him, still broken over him, still defined by his rejection. But then she found something that changed everything. Not in the invitation itself, but in the email Alex showed her. A legal letter hidden behind formal language. A demand that she accept less support for her children because Derek had chosen to start a new family. As if Mason, Harper, and Lily were negotiable expenses. As if they were old debts he could reduce in bankruptcy. Sloan felt something shift inside her chest. Not pain, not even anger yet, just clarity. I want to go, she said quietly. I want him to see me. I want him to see them. I want everyone in that room to see exactly what he threw away when he decided a dental hygienist was worth more than his family. Rachel grinned. That's my girl. Alex kissed her forehead. Then we make a plan, and we do this right. The clock on the nightstand read 3:47. Sloan sat in the nursery for the new baby, folding and refolding tiny onesies she had already organized twice. Sleep felt impossible. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that invitation. Rose gold letters spelling out her humiliation in elegant script. The room smelled like lavender from the diffuser Alex had bought. The crib was already assembled, white wood with a mobile of soft stars hanging above it. Everything was ready. Everything was perfect. She pulled up her phone and typed before she could stop herself. Signs, your husband is cheating. The search results loaded. She scrolled past the first article, the second, the third. She had read them all before. 2 years ago, sitting in this exact same spiral at 3 in the morning, searching for one article that would tell her she was wrong, that she was paranoid, that the late nights in the distance, in the way he flinched when she touched him, were all in her head. Her thumb hovered over one result. 10 signs you're not crazy. He really is cheating. She clicked it. Read the list she had memorized. Working late suddenly and frequently. guarding his phone, picking fights over nothing, accusing her of being suspicious, emotional withdrawal, physical withdrawal, new cologne, new clothes, new gym membership. Derek had done all 10. She locked her phone and set it down, hands shaking. A baby blanket lay folded on the rocking chair. Blue and white stripes. She had bought an identical one 7 years ago when she found out she was pregnant with triplets. When the ultrasound tech had said, oh, wow, there are 3 heartbeats. The memory hit her like cold water. Derek had stared at the ultrasound screen, his face pale. 3 babies? Triplets, the tech confirmed, smiling like this was good news. 2 girls and a baby, all looking healthy. Sloan had been crying happy tears, shocked, overwhelmed, terrified, but happy. 3 babies, 3 miracles. Derek had been silent the entire drive home. That night, sitting at their kitchen table in their tiny apartment, he had finally spoken. How are we supposed to afford this? 3 of everything, 3 college funds. I just got passed over for that promotion. The promotion I needed to get. We'll figure it out, Sloan had said, reaching for his hand. People have twins, triplets. We'll make it work. You'll make it work. His voice had been cold. You're the one who wanted kids right away. I said we should wait. She had wanted to argue, to remind him that he had agreed, that they had planned this together. But she was 26 years old and newly pregnant with 3 babies, and the fear in his voice had become fear in her chest. I'll get a job, she had said instead. After they're born, we'll manage. He had stood up from the table. I'm going to pick up extra hours. We need the money. That had been the beginning of the late nights, the gradual disappearance, the slow transformation from husband to roommate to stranger. Her mother had visited when she was 7 months pregnant, huge and exhausted. And so alone-ish, and Catherine had taken one look at the empty apartment, at Sloan eating cereal for dinner, at the pile of unfolded baby clothes, and had sat her down. Where is Derek? Working. He has a big project. Sloan, Catherine's voice had been gentle but firm. A man who makes your pregnancy about his inconvenience won't magically become supportive when they're born. He's just stressed, Mom. And you're not. You're growing 3 human beings. If he can't show up for you now, he won't show up for you then. Sloan had defended him, made excuses, promised her mother that Derek loved her, loved the babies, was just going through a hard time at work. 6 months after the triplets were born, she found the texts. Can't wait until I don't have to pretend anymore. Soon, baby, I promise. Just need to get through this year. The texts were to Brittany, dated from before the triplets were born, before Sloan had spent 72 hours in labor, before she had come home to an empty house and 3 crying infants and a husband who worked 16-hour days. He had been cheating the entire time, while she pushed 3 babies into the world, while she bled and cried and begged her body to heal, while she learned to breastfeed and change diapers and function on 90-minute sleep intervals. He had been planning his exit the whole time. Sloan, she startled. Alex stood in the doorway wearing pajama pants and no shirt, his hair messed from sleep. He had the kind of body that came from actual labor, not gym vanity, from building his company with his own hands before it became an empire. You should be sleeping, she said. So should you. He crossed to her, knelt down beside the rocking chair. His hand covered hers where it gripped the baby blanket. Talk to me. And I was pregnant and alone in my marriage before I was ever divorced. The words came out flat, factual. I just didn't know it yet. Alex said nothing, just waited. He was cheating before the triplets were born. I found the text later. He was with her while I was in labor. Not physically there, but mentally. Emotionally. He had already left. I know, Alex said quietly. I'm not crazy. She looked at him, needing him to understand. I know what I saw. Every late night, every deflection, every time he made me feel desperate for asking where he was. I'm not imagining it. You're not crazy, Alex agreed. His voice was steady, certain. You were gaslit by someone who was supposed to protect you. You deserved a partner. You got a boy pretending to be a man. Sloan laughed, but it sounded like crying. Why does it still hurt? I don't love him. I don't want him back. I have you. I have this. She gestured to the nursery, to her belly, to the life they had built. So why does a stupid wedding invitation undo me? Because he doesn't get to erase what he did. Alex's thumb traced circles on her hand. He wants you to believe his version, that you were difficult, that the marriage just didn't work, that he found happiness elsewhere, implying you were the obstacle to his happiness. The invitation is a test, Sloan realized. If I ignore it, I'm bitter. If I show up angry, I'm unstable. Either way, he wins. Unless you show up unbothered. Alex smiled. Then he loses everything. His narrative, his power, his ability to make you small. Morning light was starting to filter through the curtains. Somewhere in the house, she heard Harper singing. A Disney song, probably. Harper was always singing. I think Rachel was right, Sloan said. I think we should go, all of us. Dressed like we're attending a charity gala, polite, gracious, completely moved on. Then that's what we'll do. Alex stood, pulling her up with him. But right now, you need sleep and breakfast, and to stop Googling things you already know the answer to. She blushed. How did you? The search bar was still up when I took your phone to charge it. He kissed her forehead. You're not crazy. He really was cheating, and he's going to regret ever sending that invitation. The phone buzzed during breakfast, 3 times in rapid succession. Sloan looked at the screen. Jennifer Thornton, Derek's mother, the woman who had once told Sloan that she was lucky to have found a man willing to take on the responsibility of children at such a young age, as if Derek hadn't been equally responsible for creating those children. She let it ring out. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Answer it, Alex said, pouring orange juice for the triplets. Put it on speaker. Sloan answered. Hello, Jennifer. Sloan. Jennifer's voice was tight, controlled. The voice of a woman used to being obeyed. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time. We're having breakfast. What can I do for you? A pause. Jennifer had never been good at asking for things. She preferred implying, suggesting, making statements that left no room for refusal. I wanted to discuss the wedding, Jennifer said finally. Derek mentioned that you received an invitation. I did. It's lovely. Rose gold calligraphy. Another pause. Longer this time. Sloan, I hope you'll understand that Brittany is nervous about the children attending. With everything being so new, so delicate, perhaps it's best if Derek sees them another weekend. Sloan looked at Alex, who raised an eyebrow. She took a breath, kept her voice level. The children are in the custody agreement, Jennifer. They're scheduled to spend next weekend with Derek. If he wants to change that, he can call me himself. There's no need to be difficult about this. Jennifer's tone sharpened. This is Brittany's special day. Surely you can understand wanting everything to be perfect. We're Brittany's special day, built on the ruins of mine. The thought came swift and bitter. Sloan swallowed it down. I understand that Brittany wants a perfect wedding, she said carefully. But my children have a right to see their father. If Derek doesn't want them there, he needs to tell me himself, not send his mother to do it. I'm simply trying to make this easier for everyone. Jennifer's voice took on that martyred quality Sloan remembered so well. Derek has been under so much stress with the wedding planning and his work situation. The last thing he needs is complications. His children aren't complications. They're people. Of course they are. But Sloan, you must see how awkward this is. You showing up. I was invited. With a new husband and all those children. People will talk. It will overshadow the bride. There it was. The real concern, not Derek's feelings, not the children's well-being. Just appearances. Just what people would say. If Derek doesn't want me to attend his wedding, he can tell me himself, Sloan repeated. But the children are coming for their scheduled visit. That's non-negotiable. She hung up before Jennifer could respond. Her hands were shaking. Alex took the phone gently and set it on the counter. You did good. She thinks I'm being vindictive. She thinks you're supposed to disappear. That's different. Rachel arrived 10 minutes later, with pastries and an energy that filled the entire kitchen. Okay, I have news. Big news. Possibly nuclear news. Sloan poured her coffee. Go ahead, this morning can't get much weirder. Jennifer tried to call me, too. Rachel bit into a croissant, talking around it. She wanted to know if I could talk sense into you. Her words, not mine. Talk sense into you about the wedding. What did you say? I said that you were the most sensible person I knew, and that if Derek was worried about his ex-wife attending his wedding, maybe he shouldn't have invited her. Rachel grinned. Then I may have mentioned that Alexander Sterling doesn't attend events that aren't worth his time, so clearly Derek's wedding must be very important. Alex laughed. Nicely done. The doorbell rang. Through the glass, Sloane could see her mother on the porch, holding a covered dish and wearing her determined face. Catherine Mitchell swept in with the efficiency of a woman who had spent 30 years teaching high school English. Nothing rattled her. Nothing surprised her. She had seen every kind of teenage drama, and adult drama was just teenage drama with bills. I brought cinnamon rolls, she announced, because I saw Jennifer at the store yesterday and she gave me a look that said she was about to do something stupid, and I figured you'd need comfort food. The smell hit Sloane immediately. Butter, cinnamon, vanilla, her grandmother's recipe. Catherine made them for every important occasion. Good and bad, Sloane hadn't made them herself since the divorce. She had tried one standing in her tiny apartment kitchen and had burned the entire batch while crying on the floor. The smell had reminded her of Derek's mother criticizing her cooking, of holiday dinners where nothing she made was quite right. Now, watching her mother uncover the still warm rolls, Sloane felt something crack in her chest. I haven't had these in 2 years, she whispered. Catherine looked at her, really looked at her. I know, baby, but they're yours too, not just memories of him. Yours. The triplets came running at the smell. Harper climbed onto a stool. Can we help make them next time, Grandma? Absolutely. Catherine started cutting pieces. Your mama used to help me when she was your age. Got flour everywhere. Mason took his piece carefully. Why doesn't Mommy make them anymore? The question hung in the air. Sloane opened her mouth, closed it. How did you explain to a 4-year-old that some things hurt too much to touch? That she had given up parts of herself to make a man comfortable who had never appreciated the sacrifice? Because I forgot I liked making them, Sloane said finally. But maybe we can make them together soon. Catherine smiled, put her hand over Sloane's. 3 generations of women in one kitchen. 3 generations of making the same recipe. 3 generations of surviving men who didn't deserve them. After the children went to play, Catherine sat across from Sloane at the table. Her face was serious now, teacher face. Tell me about the invitation. Sloane filled us in, the wedding, the legal letter, Jennifer's phone call, all of it. Catherine listened without interrupting. When Sloane finished, her mother sat back and stared at the ceiling for a long moment. In my day, she said slowly, we stayed quiet and smiled through these things. Your grandmother never spoke about your grandfather's affairs. I never spoke about your father's. We just endured, kept the family together, swallowed our anger and called it dignity. Sloane stared. Dad cheated? For 15 years, with his secretary. Everyone knew, no one said anything. Catherine's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was discussing the weather. I stayed because that's what you did. You stayed for the children, for the appearance of stability, for the mortgage and the insurance, and all the practical reasons that made sense at 3 in the morning when you were too tired to imagine starting over. Mom, I had no idea. That was the point. We were very good at pretending. Catherine looked at her daughter. I'm glad your generation doesn't do that. I'm glad you left. I'm glad you chose yourself and those children over appearances. But sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing. If I should have tried harder. Stop. Catherine's voice was sharp, teacher voice. Derek was cheating before your babies were born. You didn't fail your marriage. He destroyed it before it had a chance. Sloane felt tears burning. His mother thinks I'm being vindictive, that I should just quietly disappear. His mother spent her whole life making excuses for men who didn't deserve them. She sees you holding Derek accountable, and it threatens her entire worldview. Catherine reached across the table. If you want to go to that wedding and hold your head high, you do it. You show him and everyone in that room that you survived him, that you're thriving despite him, that he was not your ending, just a chapter you closed. What if I'm doing it for the wrong reasons? What if I'm just being petty? Catherine smiled. Then be petty. You've earned it. Sometimes petty is the only language these men understand. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Marcus Sterling, Alex's brother and attorney. He carried a briefcase and wore the expression of a man with bad news trying to figure out how to deliver it. "We need to talk," he said. "Privately." They gathered in Alex's home office. Marcus opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. "Derek's attorney filed a formal motion this morning," he said without preamble. "He's seeking to reduce child support by 40%, citing financial hardship. The wedding is costing more than they budgeted. They purchased a house last month. Brittany left her job. And there are, quote, new family expenses, unquote." "New family expenses," Sloan repeated. The words felt like glass in her mouth. "He's replacing them. He's actually trying to replace them." "That's what it looks like." Marcus pulled out more papers. "But here's what's interesting. The timeline doesn't add up. They bought the house 3 months ago, put down $200,000. The wedding venue alone cost $80,000. These aren't the actions of someone experiencing financial hardship." "So he's lying," Alex said flatly. "Strategically misrepresenting his financial situation, yes." Marcus looked at Sloan. "The invitation makes sense now. He wants you emotional, unstable. If you crash his wedding in a rage, he can use it as evidence that you're vindictive and potentially a co-parenting liability. It gives him ammunition." The room went silent. Sloan felt her entire body go cold. "He wants to erase us," she said quietly. "Like we never existed. Like he didn't beg me to have children. Like he didn't make promises he had no intention of keeping." "He wants a clean slate with Brittany," Marcus agreed. "The triplets are inconvenient reminders of his first marriage. If he can reduce support and portray you as difficult, he can minimize his involvement with them entirely." "That's not going to happen," Alex said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "What do we need to do?" Marcus pulled out more documents. Financial records, text messages, a timeline of Derek's behavior over the past 3 years. "We make sure everyone at that wedding knows exactly what kind of man he is," Marcus said. "Not through anger, not through drama, through contrast." "Contrast?" Sloan asked. "You show up looking successful, stable, and completely moved on. You bring your children, who are well-behaved and clearly well cared for. You interact with grace, and you let Derek's own behavior speak for itself." Marcus smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Men like Derek can't handle being the villain in their own story. Give him enough rope, and he'll hang himself." Sloan looked at the papers spread across the desk. Years of her life reduced to evidence, proof of betrayal, documentation of abandonment. She had only one choice left, the one thing she swore she would never do. She had sworn she would never give Derek the satisfaction of knowing he still affected her. Never let him see her care. But this wasn't about him anymore. This was about Mason, Harper, and Lily. About making sure they knew their mother fought for them. About refusing to be erased. "Then we make a plan," she said, "and we do this right." The sound of designer heels clicking on marble echoed through the penthouse. Rachel had brought reinforcements. Not just emotional support, but actual tactical support. She stood in Sloane's closet, hands on hips, evaluating the situation like a general surveying a battlefield. "Okay," she said, "we need to think about this strategically. This isn't just attending a wedding. This is making a statement." Catherine sat in the bedroom's reading chair, sipping tea. "What kind of statement?" "That she won." Rachel pulled out a dress, considered it, put it back. "That leaving Derek was the best decision she ever made. That she's not just surviving, she's thriving. That her life is so good that his wedding is just a minor social obligation, not an emotional event." "That's a lot of pressure for one outfit," Sloan said. "Fashion is warfare, honey, and we're going to war." Alex appeared in the doorway with Marcus. They had been talking strategy in his office for the past hour. Now they looked ready to share the battle plan. "We've outlined the approach," Marcus said, pulling out his tablet. "Timing is everything. You don't want to arrive during the ceremony. Too disruptive plays into the jilted ex-wife narrative. But arriving right after, during cocktail hour, maximizes visibility while minimizing scene potential." "So we show up fashionably late," Rachel said. "I like it. The children should be impeccably dressed but comfortable, Marcus continued. Well-behaved proof of excellent parenting. Every interaction should be brief, gracious, and utterly forgettable. You're not there to make waves. You're there because you were invited. Catherine raised her hand like she was in a classroom. What about gifts? Should she bring one? Absolutely not, Alex said firmly. That would look like she's trying too hard. This is about presents, not presents. Rachel held up a dress, midnight blue silk, empire waist to accommodate the pregnancy, with an elegant drape. What about this? It's formal enough to be respectful, but stunning enough to make everyone stare. Sloane took the dress. It was beautiful. It was also designer, purchased during a shopping trip where Alex had insisted she stop looking at price tags. The kind of dress that cost more than Derek's monthly car payment. It's perfect, Catherine said quietly. You'll look like a queen. More importantly, Rachel added, you'll look happy, not trying too hard, just naturally radiant. That's the look we want. Marcus tapped his tablet. We've also identified key witnesses. Derek's cousin Emily, who always suspected the affair. His college friend Tom, who's known Brittany since she started working at the dental office. If anything goes wrong, we have people who can verify the timeline. You make it sound like we're building a legal case, Sloane said. We are, Marcus replied. Derek filed that motion. He made this about the courts. We're simply making sure the truth is documented. Alex moved to stand beside Sloane, his hand settling on the small of her back. You don't have to do this. We can respond to his motion with paperwork. Let the lawyers handle everything. Sloane looked at the dress in her hands, thought about Mason asking why Mommy was crying, about Harper wondering if she would have to call another woman Mommy, about Lily watching everything with those big worried eyes. No, she said, I need to see his face. I need him to see that I'm not haunted by him anymore. Rachel clapped once. That's the spirit. Now let's talk accessories. The planning session lasted 2 hours. They mapped out every detail. The arrival time, the table placement, the exit strategy. They even practiced small talk responses. When Rachel asked, how have you been? Sloane would say, wonderful, thank you. We've been so busy with the new house and Alex's latest project. When someone mentioned the pregnancy, she would smile and say, we're thrilled. The triplets are so excited to be big siblings. Every answer designed to project happiness, stability, success. Every response calculated to show that Derek's abandonment had been a blessing in disguise. What if Brittany confronts me? Sloane asked. You remain gracious, Marcus said. Thank her for the invitation. Congratulate her on the wedding. Do not engage with provocation. What if Derek confronts me? Same approach. You're there because you were invited. Nothing more, nothing less. If he brings up the children or support, you refer him to me. Marcus smiled. That's what you pay me for. After Rachel and Marcus left, Catherine stayed to help with the triplets. She braided Harper's hair while Lily watched, learning the pattern. Mason played with toy cars on the floor, occasionally looking up to make sure his mother was still there. This, Sloane thought, this was what Derek had thrown away. These quiet moments, these small rituals, 3 generations of women teaching and learning and just being together. She pulled out her phone and opened the photo album. There was a picture from her wedding to Derek. She was 25, wearing a dress her mother had made. Derek looked young, uncertain, like a boy playing dress-up in a man's suit. The next album showed pictures of her pregnancy with the triplets. Derek appeared in exactly 3 photos. In all 3, he was looking at his phone. Then the hospital pictures, 3 tiny babies, 1 exhausted mother, no father in sight. Sloane scrolled further. The first birthday, the second, the third. Derek appeared less and less. By the 4th birthday, he was absent entirely, not because she had cut him out of the photos, but because he hadn't been there to photograph. You okay, baby? Catherine asked, noticing the phone. I was just remembering. Sloane locked the phone. 7 years ago, I would have done anything to make him stay. I begged him, Mom, actually begged him to leave. Catherine set down the hairbrush. I know. I apologize for existing, for being tired, for not losing the baby weight fast enough, for the house being messy, for the triplets being loud. I made myself so small trying to fit into whatever space he was willing to give me. And now, Catherine asked gently, now I fill up a whole room. Sloane laughed, but it was real laughter this time. Now I take up space. Now I have opinions and boundaries and expectations. Now I'm so much bigger than he ever let me be. Harper looked up from her braid. Mommy, you're not fat. You're pregnant. That's different. I'm not talking about size, sweetie. I'm talking about presence. What's presence? It's when you're fully yourself, Catherine explained. No hiding, no shrinking, just being exactly who you are, as loud and bright as you want to be. Mason looked up from his cars. Like when Harper sings really loud in the car? Exactly like that, Sloane said. They laughed. The moment was perfect. No undercurrent of tension. No waiting for someone to ruin the peace. Just four people who loved each other, existing together without apology. That night, after the children were asleep, Sloane stood in front of the full-length mirror wearing the midnight blue dress. It fit perfectly. Elegant, sophisticated, utterly unlike anything she would have worn when she was married to Derek. Alex appeared behind her in the reflection. He wore a charcoal suit, custom-tailored, with a subtle sheen to the fabric. They looked like they were attending a charity gala, not a wedding that existed to humiliate her. You look beautiful, he said. I look expensive, she corrected. There's a difference. You look happy. That's what's expensive. Alex rested his chin on her shoulder, hands bracketing her belly. The rest is just clothes. The baby kicked between them, strong, insistent, reminding them both that life continued, that new beginnings happened even when old endings still stung. What if I freeze, Sloane asked. What if I see him and all the rehearsed responses disappear? Then you look at me, and you remember that you're not that woman anymore. The one who begged him to stay. You're the woman who walked away, who built a better life, who chose herself. Sloane turned in his arms. Thank you. For what? For not making me small, for not needing me to shrink, for taking up space beside me instead of pushing me into corners. Alex kissed her forehead. That's not something to thank me for. That's baseline humanity. Derek set the bar so low that basic respect feels like extraordinary love. Maybe, but I'm grateful anyway. They stood there for a long moment, just breathing together. The dress pooled around her. The suit smelled like cedar and mint. The baby kicked. The city lights glittered beyond the windows. Tomorrow she would face her past, but tonight she was exactly where she needed to be. Morning sunlight streamed through the bedroom windows. Sloane woke to the sound of Harper singing in the next room. Some princess song about letting things go. The irony was not lost on her. Today was the wedding. She lay still for a moment, one hand on her belly, feeling the baby's morning movements. Braxton Hicks had been coming and going for days now. Practice contractions, her body preparing for what was coming. She wished she could practice for today. Rehearse the real confrontation until it felt manageable. Alex was already up. She could hear him in the kitchen with the triplets. The smell of pancakes drifted upstairs. He was making breakfast, keeping them occupied, giving her time to breathe. She forced herself out of bed and into the shower. Let the hot water pound against her shoulders. Focused on the physical sensations instead of the spiral of thoughts threatening to pull her under. What was she doing? Why was she really going to this wedding? For the children, for herself, for closure, for proof, for truth. The answer shifted depending on which minute she asked the question. By the time she made it downstairs, the triplets were dressed in their good clothes. Mason in a little suit that made him look heartbreakingly grown up. Harper and Lily in matching lavender dresses with tiny flowers embroidered on the hems. Mommy! Harper spun in a circle. Do I look like a princess? You look beautiful. Sloane kissed the top of her head. All three of you do. Mason tugged at his tie. Do I have to wear this? Just for a few hours, Alex said. Then you can change into normal clothes. Why are we going to Daddy's wedding? Lily asked. Her voice was small, uncertain. Sloane knelt down, which was getting harder at 8 months pregnant. Because Daddy invited us. And it's important to show him that we're happy and doing well. But he doesn't live with us anymore, Mason said. The statement held no judgment, just fact. No, he doesn't. But he's still your father, and you get to see him get married. That's special. Harper frowned. Will the new lady be our mom too? No, baby. I'm your mom, just me. Always me. Good, Harper said firmly. Then she went back to spinning. The drive to the venue took 40 minutes. The wedding was at an upscale country club, the kind with manicured lawns and valet parking and a dress code posted on the website. Derek's parents were members, had been for 30 years. Sloan had been there exactly once during her marriage, for a holiday party where Jennifer had introduced her as Derek's wife and then spent the entire evening pointing out young women who had made excellent matches with men from good families. Now, sitting in the back of Alex's car, watching the familiar scenery pass, Sloan felt her chest tighten. They were 10 minutes away, then 5, then pulling into the parking lot. Alex parked the car, turned off the engine, looked at her in the rearview mirror. We can leave right now. Say the word and we go home. Sloan looked at her children in their good clothes, at the venue ahead with its elegant stone facade, at her hands which were gripping her phone so hard her knuckles were white. She sat there, 5 full minutes, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to open the door. The paralysis was complete. She knew she needed to go inside, knew she had come this far, knew that turning back now would feel like failure. But her body would not cooperate. A small knock on the window made her jump. Mason stood outside, his face pressed against the glass. Mommy, are you scared? She rolled down the window. Yes, baby, I am. But we're here with you, me and Harper and Lily and Alex. His little face was so serious. You're not alone. Something shifted in her chest. She reached out and touched his cheek through the window. You're right, I'm not alone anymore. She opened the car door. The country club's main entrance featured massive white columns and perfectly trimmed hedges. People were already arriving, dressed in formal attire, carrying elegantly wrapped gifts. A doorman opened the door for them, did a double take when he saw Sloan. She knew that look. Recognition followed by confusion, followed by carefully neutral politeness. Inside, the venue was everything she expected. Crystal chandeliers, flower arrangements that probably cost more than her monthly rent used to, a string quartet playing in the background. The wedding planner appeared almost immediately. Diane Cooper, according to her name tag. Mid-40s, efficient, clearly used to managing difficult situations at high-end events. She looked at Sloan, then at the children, then at Alex in his clearly expensive suit. Mrs. Sterling, she said smoothly, your family's table is ready, right this way. Not Mrs. Thornton, not the ex-wife, Mrs. Sterling. The name recognition landed. Alex Sterling, the billionaire tech CEO. The wedding planner's entire demeanor shifted from cautious to accommodating. We've placed you at table 12. Excellent view of the ceremony space, but not disruptive to the wedding party. I hope that's acceptable. That's perfect, Alex said. Thank you. Diane led them through the cocktail area to their table. Strategic placement. Visible but not confrontational. They could see everything, and everyone could see them, but they weren't blocking any important sightlines. The room's energy shifted as they walked through. Whispers, stares, a ripple of recognition spreading through the guests. That's her. That's the first wife, the one with the triplets. I heard she married a billionaire. She doesn't look bitter. She looks amazing. They sat down. The triplets were remarkably well behaved. Mason coloring in the activity book Rachel had thought to pack. Harper and Lily looking around with wide eyes at all the flowers and lights. Mommy, it's so pretty, Lily whispered. It is pretty, Sloan agreed. Alex's hand found hers under the table. Warm, steady, grounding. She could do this. She was doing this. The ceremony was clearly over. People were filtering in from the outdoor garden where Derek and Brittany had presumably just exchanged vows. The cocktail hour was beginning, which meant any moment now. Oh my God, Sloan? She turned. Emily, Derek's cousin. They had been friendly during the marriage. Not close, but friendly. Emily had 3 kids of her own, had always seemed sympathetic to Sloan's struggles. Emily, hi. Sloan stood carefully, accepting the tentative hug. I didn't know you were coming. Derek didn't mention. Emily stopped, looked at Alex, at the children. at Sloane's designer dress in obvious pregnancy. Wow, you look amazing. Thank you. Let me introduce my husband, Alexander Sterling. She gestured. Alex, this is Emily, Derek's cousin. The name registered. Emily's eyes went wide. Alexander Sterling, as in Sterling Technologies? That's me, Alex said pleasantly, shaking her hand. And these are my children, Sloane continued. You remember Mason, Harper, and Lily. They're so big, Emily exclaimed. Then quieter. Derek doesn't bring them around much anymore. No, Sloane said simply. He doesn't. The moment hung there. Emily clearly wanted to say more, but wasn't sure how. Finally, she leaned in close. For what it's worth, I never believed his version of things. I know what I saw. Sloane squeezed her hand. Thank you. Emily moved away, but the others approached. Old friends, Derek's colleagues, people who had known them as a couple and now were confronting the reality of their separate lives. Each conversation followed the same pattern. Initial surprise, poorly hidden curiosity, awkward congratulations, thinly veiled questions about how she was doing. And through it all, Sloane maintained perfect composure, gracious, warm, utterly unbothered, until the ballroom doors opened and the wedding party entered. Derek and Brittany made their grand entrance to applause and music. They walked hand in hand, smiling for the crowd, waving like royalty. Derek wore a black tuxedo. His hair was styled differently. He looked older somehow. The boy she married was gone, replaced by a man she barely recognized. His eyes swept the room, landed on Sloane. He stopped walking, just for a moment, just long enough for Brittany to notice and tug his hand, confused. His face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Shock, anger, something else she couldn't quite read. Brittany followed his gaze. Her expression shifted from confused to furious in seconds. The room seemed to hold its breath. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The confrontation, the drama, the public spectacle. But Derek recovered quickly, forced a smile, continued walking to the head table. Brittany's smile looked like it hurt. The thing Sloane had been dreading revealed something she never expected. Derek looked miserable. Not just in this moment, seeing her, but in general. The wedding photos on display showed him looking tired, overwhelmed, going through the motions. And Brittany looked exactly like Sloane used to look. That forced brightness, that performance of happiness, that desperate attempt to prove everything was fine. History repeating, the same pattern, the same man, different woman, same outcome. Jennifer, Derek's mother, rushed over to their table. Her face was pinched with displeasure. Sloane, what are you doing here? Attending the wedding I was invited to. Sloane kept her voice level. This is my husband, Alexander Sterling. Alex, this is Jennifer, Derek's mother. Alex stood, offering his hand. Jennifer took it automatically, social training overriding her anger. Your son invited his children's mother, Alex said smoothly. We simply accepted the invitation. Jennifer opened her mouth, closed it. The social calculus was visible on her face. Making a scene would be worse than tolerating their presence. The children should be at the kids' table, she said finally. The children are sitting with their mother, Alex replied. His tone was pleasant but final. Jennifer's eyes narrowed, but she turned and walked away, her rigid spine telegraphing her fury to anyone paying attention. Derek approached their table. He moved like he was walking through quicksand. His smile was forced, his eyes hard. Sloane, I didn't think you'd actually come. She looked up at him. Her ex-husband, the father of her children, the man who had broken her heart and abandoned her when she needed him most. And she felt nothing. Not pain, not anger, not even satisfaction at his obvious discomfort. Just nothing. You sent an invitation, she said calmly. It would have been rude not to respond. She stood, which took effort with the pregnancy, faced him at eye level. Well, almost. She was shorter, but somehow she didn't feel small. This is my husband, Alexander Sterling. She made the introduction formal, official. Alex, this is Derek Thornton. They shook hands. Derek's grip was too tight. Alex's was perfectly measured. A 30-second display of dominance disguised as politeness. Sterling, Derek said. I know that name. Sterling Technologies, Alex supplied. We recently acquired the Vertex account your company was bidding on. The subtext was clear. I outplayed you in business too. Derek's jaw tightened. Right. Congratulations on that. Congratulations on your wedding, Sloan said. Brittany looks beautiful. Thank you. Derek's eyes dropped to her belly. I see you've been busy too. Life has been good, Sloan agreed. He wanted more. She could see it in his face. He wanted emotion, reaction, some sign that he still mattered. She gave him nothing. We should get back to the head table, Derek said finally. Enjoy the reception. He walked away. Sloan sat down. Her hands were shaking, but she kept them hidden in her lap. Alex leaned close. You did perfectly. He looked at me like he expected me to still be broken, Sloan whispered, and instead he found you thriving. That's got to hurt. Mason tugged her sleeve. Was that Daddy? Yes, baby. He didn't say hi to us. He's busy with the wedding. You'll see him next weekend. But even as she said it, Sloan wondered if that was true. Derek had looked at his children like they were strangers, like they were evidence of a past he was trying to forget. The realization should have made her angry. Instead, it just made her sad. Not for herself, but for Mason, Harper, and Lily. They deserved better than a father who saw them as inconvenient reminders. But they had Alex. They had her. They had a family that actually showed up. That would have to be enough. The sound of champagne glasses clinking filled the ballroom. Dinner service began with practiced efficiency. Servers in black uniforms navigated between tables, delivering plates that looked more like art installations than food. Sloane's table was positioned perfectly. They could see everything without being the center of attention, could observe without participating, could witness without disrupting. Brittany kept pulling Derek aside. Their conversations looked tense. She gestured towards Sloane's table multiple times. Derek shook his head, tried to placate her, failed. Even from across the room, Sloane could read the body language. The same argument she used to have. Why didn't you tell me? How could you invite her? Everyone is staring at us. This is supposed to be our day. Other guests continued approaching Sloane's table throughout dinner. Old friends she hadn't seen since the divorce. Derek's colleagues who remembered the triplets as babies. His extended family who had always been kind to her. I heard you were struggling, one colleague said. The pity in his voice was obvious. Derek mentioned you were having a hard time adjusting to being on your own. Did he? Sloane smiled. How kind of him to be concerned. I'm doing wonderfully, actually. The children are thriving. Alex and I just bought a house in the hills. Life has been surprisingly good. The colleague blinked. Clearly, this wasn't the narrative he expected. Good for you. When he left, Rachel appeared from the table where she'd been strategically placed. I've been eavesdropping on conversations. Do you want to know what people are saying? Probably not, but tell me anyway. They're confused. Derek told everyone you left him, that you couldn't handle being a mother, that you were overwhelmed and unstable. Rachel's eyes glinted. But here you are, obviously pregnant, obviously happy, obviously married to someone significantly more successful than Derek. The narrative is crumbling, Alex observed. Good, Sloane said, but her stomach was churning. She pushed food around her plate, trying to look engaged in the meal. Everything tasted like cardboard. The Braxton Hicks were getting stronger. Not real labor, just her body's way of reminding her that stress and pregnancy were not compatible. Mason noticed first. Mommy, you're not eating. I'm just not very hungry, baby. Are you sick? No, just tired. She forced herself to take a bite, swallow, smile. The performance continued. That's all it was. One long, exhausting performance of being okay. Brittany's maid of honor approached the microphone. A young woman in her early 20s, probably Brittany's sister based on the resemblance. I've known Brittany my whole life, she began, and I've never seen her as happy as she is with Derek. After everything she went through, watching him struggle in his difficult first marriage, she deserves this happiness. They both do. Struggle. Difficult first marriage. The implications were clear. Sloane was the problem. The difficult one, the struggle. She felt Alex's hand cover hers under the table. Squeeze gently. Remind her to breathe. The speech continued, more pointed comments about finally finding real love and starting fresh and new beginnings. Each phrase carefully designed to rewrite history, to paint Derek as the victim and Brittany as the savior. By the time the maid of honor finished, Sloane's nails were digging into her palms. Rachel leaned over. Breathe, they're just words. They're lies. Then let them be lies. The truth has a way of coming out. Derek's best man's speech was next. Tom, his college roommate, a guy Sloane had known for years, someone she thought was a friend. I've known Derek since we were 18, Tom said. I watched him go through his first marriage, watched him try everything to make it work, watched him sacrifice his own happiness for years trying to keep a family together that maybe wasn't meant to be. Sloane gripped the table. Sacrifice. He was the one who sacrificed. But then he met Brittany, and for the first time since I'd known him, he smiled again, laughed again, became himself again. That's what real love does. It brings you back to life. The implication hung in the air. Sloane had been killing him, suffocating him, preventing him from being himself. She wanted to stand up, to scream, to tell everyone in this room that Derek had been screwing his dental hygienist while she was pregnant with triplets, that he had abandoned her in the hospital, that he had never once gotten up for a middle-of-the-night feeding, that his sacrifice was working late hours with his mistress while Sloane figured out how to keep 3 infants alive on her own, but she didn't. She sat there, smiled, clapped when everyone else clapped. The Braxton Hicks contracted hard. She gasped quietly. Alex noticed immediately. Are you okay? Just contractions, not real ones. The doctor said they'd come more frequently when I'm stressed. We can leave. Not yet. Sloane, not yet. She needed to stay, needed to see this through, needed to prove she could sit in this room full of lies and not crumble. But her body was rebelling. The contractions were getting closer together. The baby was kicking hard, as if sensing her distress. Diane, the wedding planner, appeared beside her. Mrs. Sterling, perhaps some air? There's a private lounge just through those doors. Sloane looked up at her beside her. Diane's expression was kind, concerned, not pitying, just human. That might be good, Sloane admitted. Alex started to stand, but she stopped him. Stay with the kids. I just need 5 minutes. She followed Diane through a side door into a quiet hallway. The lounge was small, elegant, a couch, some chairs, a window overlooking the gardens. Thank you, Sloane said. I've worked 300 weddings, Diane said quietly. I can always tell when someone is performing versus being. You're performing, and you're doing a beautiful job of it. But you're also 8 months pregnant and clearly uncomfortable. I'm fine. No, you're not, and that's okay. Diane handed her a bottle of water. Take as long as you need. I'll make sure no one disturbs you. She left, closed the door, left Sloane alone in the silence. The performance finally stopped. Sloane sank onto the couch, removed her heels, and let herself feel everything she'd been holding back. Rage. Not just at Derek, but at everyone in that room who believed his lies, who looked at her with pity or judgment or curiosity, who rewrote history to make him the victim. Grief. For the years she wasted, for the woman she used to be who thought love meant making yourself small, for the marriage that never existed outside her imagination. Fear. What if she was making things worse? What if the children would remember this day as the time Mom embarrassed them at Dad's wedding? What if showing up was actually proving Derek right, that she was vindictive and unable to move on? The baby kicked hard. She placed both hands on her belly, tears streaming down her face. I don't know what I'm doing, she whispered to the baby. I thought I had this all figured out. Thought I was past this. Thought seeing him wouldn't hurt anymore. The door opened. Her mother slipped in, closing it softly behind her. How did you know I was here? Mother's intuition. Catherine sat beside her. Also, Alex texted me. They sat in silence for a moment. Catherine pulled tissues from her purse, handed them over, waited. Tell me I'm doing the right thing, Sloane said finally. Are you? I don't know anymore. Jennifer thinks I'm vindictive. The speeches make me sound like I was the problem. Everyone in that room believes that Derek's version where he was the saint and I was the burden. Do you believe that? No, but what if I'm just as delusional as I was when I believed he loved me? Well, Catherine took her hand. Sweetheart, you don't have to stay. You've made your point. You came. You showed everyone you're thriving. You don't owe these people anything else. But the kids are fine. They're with Alex. They're coloring and eating cake and being 4-year-olds. They're not traumatized. Well, what if I'm doing this for him? What if I'm just proving I'm still hung up on him? Catherine turned to face her. When your father cheated, I stayed silent. For 40 years, I wondered what would have happened if I'd spoken up, if I'd confronted him publicly, if I'd refused to carry his shame. She paused. Don't carry my regret. Don't wonder what if. If you need to leave, leave. If you need to stay, stay. But do it for yourself, not for him. I think I needed to come here to realize something. Sloane wiped her eyes. I'm not doing this to win him back. I'm not doing this to make him jealous. I'm not even doing this to hurt him. Then why? For the kids. So they know their mother didn't just fade away like he pretends. So they see that you can be erased from someone's narrative, but still exist in your own story. She stood up, steadying herself. I need to get back out there. Are you sure? No, but I'm going anyway. She put her heels back on. Catherine helped her fix her makeup. They looked at each other in the mirror. Starting over felt impossible, Sloane said quietly. But staying felt worse. I chose impossible. And look where it brought you, Catherine replied. To possible. They returned to the ballroom just as the cake-cutting ceremony was beginning. Sloane slid back into her seat. Alex looked at her questioningly. I'm okay, she told him. And this time, it was almost true. Jennifer intercepted them as they headed back to their table. She looked agitated, desperate. Sloane, we need to talk about the children's schedule. Now? Derek can't maintain the same financial arrangement with the new baby coming. The room tilted. The new baby? Jennifer's face went pale. I thought you knew. Brittany's pregnant? The words came out flat, shocked. I assumed Derek had told you. Jennifer looked panicked now. It wasn't supposed to come out this way. Everything clicked into place. The legal motion, the reduced support, the new family expenses. Derek wasn't just replacing the triplets emotionally. He was literally replacing them with a new baby, a do-over family with the right woman this time. Sloane felt eerily calm. Marcus, Alex's attorney, handles all financial discussions. Feel free to have Derek's attorney contact him. There's no need to be vindictive about this. I'm not being vindictive. I'm protecting my children's legal rights. Derek made promises when we had them. I'm holding him accountable. The children will understand when they're older. Understand what? That their father tried to reduce their support to pay for a baby with another woman? Sloane kept her voice level. No, I don't think they will. Jennifer's desperation was visible now. Can't you just be reasonable? I am being reasonable. Derek has legal obligations. If he can afford a wedding at this venue and a house and a new baby, he can afford child support for the children he already has. You're making this very difficult. No, Jennifer. Derek made this difficult when he sent me a wedding invitation while trying to reduce support for our children. I'm just responding to his choices. She walked away before Jennifer could reply. The truth bomb had dropped. Brittany was pregnant, due in 3 months based on Jennifer's desperate need to reduce support immediately. Everything made sense now. Derek was doing exactly what he'd done to her, getting overwhelmed, getting resentful, looking for ways to reduce his obligations. The pattern was identical. Only this time Sloane had front row seats to watch it play out, and this time she wasn't the one trapped in it. The door to the private lounge closed with a soft click. Sloane leaned against it, eyes closed, breathing slowly. The revelation about Brittany's pregnancy sat in her chest like a stone. Not because she was jealous, but because she knew exactly what was coming. The late nights at work, the growing distance, the resentment, the affair, history repeating with mathematical precision. She moved to the couch and removed her shoes again. Her feet were swollen. The Braxton Hicks had eased but not stopped. The baby was kicking steadily, as if reminding her that life continued regardless of drama. The room was quiet, blessedly quiet. No music, no speeches rewriting history, no performative smiling. Just silence and the distant sound of the reception through the walls. What if I'm making it worse? The thought wouldn't leave. What if showing up here was traumatizing the children? What if they would remember this day not as the time Mom stood up for herself, but as the time Mom made everything awkward and uncomfortable? Mason's little face asking if Daddy was mad they came. Harper wondering if she'd have to call Brittany Mommy. Lily's worried eyes taking everything in. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it up. The search bar was still there from this morning. Is it normal to hate your ex even after you've moved on? She clicked on the first result. A forum. Hundreds of responses. Yes, absolutely. You can build a new life and still feel angry about the old one. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting what they did. It's normal to be happy and angry at the same time. She read through them, found strange comfort in the collective validation. She wasn't broken for feeling contradictory emotions. She wasn't weak for being affected by seeing Derek. She wasn't petty for wanting him to acknowledge what he'd done. She was just human. A soft knock on the door. Sloan? Her mother's voice. Again. Come in. Catherine entered, holding a glass of water. Alex sent me. He said you looked like you needed reinforcing. Brittany's pregnant. I heard. Jennifer's had been telling everyone for the past 10 minutes. She's doing damage control badly. Sloan laughed, but it sounded hollow. He's doing to her exactly what he did to me. Yes. And she has no idea. She thinks she won. She did win. She got Derek, which means she lost. Catherine sat beside her. That's the thing about prizes. Sometimes winning means you're stuck with something no one else wanted. I'm not supposed to take pleasure in that. Why not? You're human. You're allowed to feel relief that you escaped what she just signed up for. Sloan leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. I feel sorry for her. Is that wrong? It's compassionate. She's about to learn everything you already know, the hard way. They sat in silence. The reception continued without them. At some point, they would have to go back. But for now, this breathing room was necessary. You don't have to stay, Catherine said gently. You came. You showed everyone you're happy. You can leave with your head high. I know, but I think I need to see this through. Why? Because for 4 years, I've been playing by Derek's rules, his narrative, his version of events. Tonight, I'm here on my terms. Not angry, not crying, just existing in a space he tried to erase me from. Sloan sat up. If I leave now, it feels like running, like I'm still afraid of him. And you're not? I'm terrified, but not of him, of myself, of falling back into that pattern of making myself small to accommodate someone else's comfort. Catherine smiled. Then we stay, and we watch Derek tie himself in knots, trying to maintain a lie that's unraveling in real time. They returned to the ballroom. The reception was in full swing now. Dancing had begun. The cake had been cut. Speeches were over. This was the social portion where people mingled and drank and gossiped. Sloan and Catherine navigated back to their table. The triplets were asleep in their chairs, heads resting on folded napkins. Alex stood nearby, talking with Marcus. How long were we gone? Sloan asked. About 20 minutes, long enough for the entire room to learn about Brittany's pregnancy. Alex's voice was dry. Jennifer announced it to anyone who would listen. I suspect she panicked after realizing she'd told you. Is Derek upset? Furious. He pulled his mother aside 10 minutes ago. They had what looked like a heated conversation near the coat check. Marcus added, we also have 3 witnesses who overheard Jennifer's conversation with you. If Derek tries to claim you're being unreasonable about child support, we now have documented proof that he's reducing support specifically to fund a new family. I don't want to use the witnesses, Sloan said. I just want him to honor his obligations to the children that we already have. Noted, but it's good to have ammunition if we need it. The first dance began. Derek and Brittany took the floor. A slow song, something romantic and carefully chosen. They moved together, but there was tension in their movements. Brittany was smiling too hard. Derek looked distracted. Sloan watched with new eyes, recognized every micro-expression. The way Brittany squeezed Derek's hand to get his attention. The way he checked over her shoulder, scanning the room. The way neither of them looked truly present in the moment they were supposedly celebrating. She used to make those same tight smiles, used to perform happiness while dying inside, used to pretend everything was fine while her marriage disintegrated. Watching Brittany do it felt like watching her past self through a window, recognition flooding through her chest, that same desperate brightness, that same forced joy, that same terror hiding behind carefully applied makeup. The father-daughter dance came next. Derek with his mother, since his father had passed years ago. Brittany with her father. Traditional moments playing out with traditional music. Sloane found herself studying Derek, really studying him. Not with love or hate, but with the cold assessment of someone who had spent years decoding his moods. He kept checking his phone during the dance, not obviously, but enough. Jennifer noticed and whispered something sharp. He put the phone away with visible irritation. He looked tired, older than 34, like someone going through motions rather than living moments. Had he always looked like that? Or had she just been too close to see? Guests were whispering nearby. Sloane could hear fragments of conversation. Did you see her? She looks amazing. I heard she married a billionaire. The children are so well behaved. Derek barely sees them anymore. I can't believe he invited her. What was he thinking? Maybe he wanted to prove he moved on, but it kind of backfired. The narrative was shifting. She could feel it happening in real time. People were questioning the stories they'd been told, comparing the evidence in front of them to the version Derek had sold. And slowly, inevitably, they were choosing to believe their eyes. The bouquet toss was approaching. Brittany stood at the front of the room, gathering single women behind her. She turned, scanning the crowd, and her eyes landed on Sloane, their gazes locked. Brittany's expression was hard, triumphant. She threw the bouquet directly toward Sloane's table. It arced through the air. Time seemed to slow, the flowers tumbling end over end, landing with a soft thump near Harper's, where Harper, who had just woken up from her nap, blinked in confusion, then picked up the bouquet. "Mommy, I caught flowers for you." The room collectively held its breath. Sloane forced a smile, walked to Harper, knelt down carefully, pregnancy and formal dress making the movement awkward. "That's very sweet, baby, but these flowers are for someone who's not married yet." She looked around, spotted a teenage girl, one of Derek's young cousins. "Could you give these to her? I think she'll enjoy them more." Harper nodded and toddled over, offering the bouquet to the teenager. The girl took them with a grateful smile. Crisis averted, graciousness maintained. But damage done to Brittany's moment. Brittany's face had gone red. She turned away sharply, pulling Derek with her. Sloane returned to her table. Her legs were shaking. That small interaction had required every ounce of composure she possessed. "You handled that perfectly," Alex murmured. "I feel like I'm going to throw up." "That's also reasonable." The children needed a break. Sloane could see it in their faces. Mason was getting cranky. Harper had that glazed look she got when she was past tired. Lily was rubbing her eyes. "I'm going to take them to the bathroom," Sloane said. "Get them cleaned up. Maybe splash some water on my face." She gathered the triplets and headed toward the restrooms. The hallway was quieter, cooler. She helped them wash their hands, fix Harper's dress where it had gotten twisted, straighten Mason's tie. In the mirror, she saw 3 small faces looking up at her, trusting her, believing in her, depending on her to navigate this impossible situation. "Mommy," Mason said seriously, "why is everyone looking at us?" She knelt down to his level, because sometimes grown-ups are curious about things that aren't really their business. "Is Daddy mad we came?" The question landed like a blow. "I don't know, baby, but that's not your fault. None of this is your fault." "Do we have to call her Mommy too?" Harper asked, the question she'd been holding since they arrived. "No, never. I'm your mommy. Just me, always me." Lily touched her face. "You look sad." "I'm not sad, I'm just tired." "You're sad and tired," Lily corrected with 4-year-old certainty. Sloane pulled all 3 of them close, breathed in their shampoo smell, their innocence, their uncomplicated love. "I'm okay," she told them. "As long as I have you 3, I'm always okay." They returned to the ballroom just as some kind of commotion was starting near the head table. Raised voices, Brittany gesturing wildly, Derek trying to calm her down, Jennifer rushing over. This was it, the moment everyone had been waiting for, the inevitable implosion. Sloane stood at the edge of the room, Triplets holding her hands, watching her past life unravel in real time, and feeling absolutely nothing. Not satisfaction, not pain, just complete peaceful nothing. The sound of glass breaking cut through the music. Everyone turned. Brittany stood near the head table, champagne flute shattered at her feet, her face red and blotchy from crying. "I can't believe you invited her." Her voice carried across the entire ballroom. "Look at her. Look at what she has now." Derek grabbed her arm. "Keep your voice down. You are making a scene." "I'm making a scene?" Brittany's laugh was sharp, bordering on hysterical. "She showed up to my wedding 8 months pregnant, looking like a princess with her billionaire husband and 3 perfect children as props." The room had gone silent. Everyone was watching now, pretending not to, but absolutely watching. Diane, the wedding planner, appeared, trying to intervene. "Mrs. Thornton, perhaps we should—" "Don't tell me what to do!" Brittany jerked away, turned back to Derek. "You said she was a mess. You said she couldn't handle being a mother. You said she was unstable." Derek's face had gone pale. "Britt, please." "But she's not, is she? She's not falling apart. She's not struggling. She's perfect, and everyone keeps telling me how happy she looks, how well the kids are doing, how successful her new husband is." Brittany was sobbing now. "I'm the second wife, the other woman. That's how everyone sees me." Jennifer rushed over, trying to guide Brittany toward a private room. But Brittany was past caring about appearances. "I thought I won," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought getting you was winning." The words hung in the air, devastating in their honesty, revealing in their desperation. Derek stood frozen, unable to comfort her, unable to fix this, unable to do anything except watch his wedding dissolve into public humiliation. Sloane felt 3 small bodies press against her legs, the triplets, frightened by the shouting. She put her hands on their shoulders, considering leaving. This wasn't something they needed to see. But before she could move, Derek was crossing the room toward them. His face was a mask of barely controlled fury. "Are you happy now?" Sloane kept her voice calm. "I didn't do anything except accept your invitation and bring our children. Don't play innocent. You came here to humiliate me. I came here because you invited me. If my presence feels humiliating, that's something you should examine." Alex stepped forward, positioning himself between Derek and Sloane. "I think you should go back to your bride." "Stay out of this." Derek's voice was sharp. "You don't know anything about us." "I know enough," Alex said quietly. "I know you're treating her exactly like you treated Sloane. I know that in 3 years she'll be where Sloane was, and I know you'll find someone else to blame for your pattern." Derek's hands clenched into fists. For a moment, Sloane thought he might actually throw a punch. But Jennifer appeared, gripping her son's arm. "Derek, enough. You're making it worse." He shook her off but didn't approach closer. Just stood there, rage and humiliation warring on his face. Sloane felt something shift inside her chest. A release, a letting go. "There is no us, Derek. There hasn't been for a long time. Possibly ever." Her voice was steady, clear, not angry, just factual. "You can't hurt me anymore. I don't need you to admit what you did. I don't need you to apologize. I don't need anything from you except your child support checks clearing and your basic decency toward our children." Derek opened his mouth to respond. "But let me be very clear," Sloane continued. "If you try to reduce their support while planning another family, Marcus has all the documentation. Your attorney knows where to find him. And 15 people in this room have overheard conversations that prove you're not experiencing financial hardship, just priority shifts." "You're threatening me? At my wedding?" "I'm protecting my children. That's all I've ever done." She took a breath. "The kids are confused because you never explained any of this to them. We should probably discuss appropriate boundaries around introducing them to your new family. But not here, not now." "The kids are fine," Derek said defensively. "The kids are resilient. That's different from fine. Sloane kept her voice level. They notice things, like how you haven't visited them in 3 months, how you canceled the last 2 video calls, how you're building a new family while trying to financially minimize your existing one. That's not fair. It's accurate. Fair is subjective. Brittany had approached now, still crying but quieter. Her makeup was destroyed. Her carefully styled hair was coming undone. She looked young, vulnerable, exactly like Sloane had looked 4 years ago. You couldn't let him be happy, could you? Brittany's voice was ragged. Sloane looked at her, really looked at her, saw herself, saw the pattern, saw what was coming. I am letting him be happy. I divorced him. You're just jealous because he chose me. The room was listening to every word now. No pretense of privacy. This was the main event, the confrontation everyone had been waiting for. Sloane kept her voice gentle. Honey, he chose you while he was still married to me. That's not the win you think it is. The truth landed like a bomb. Gasps rippled through the crowd because this was the first time anyone had said it out loud. The first time someone had named what everyone suspected. Brittany's face crumpled. That's not... He said you were separated. We weren't. The texts were dated 8 months before we separated. He was with you while I was pregnant with triplets. No, Brittany turned to Derek. Tell her she's lying. But Derek said nothing, just stood there, his face confirming everything. The room erupted in whispers. Shocked, scandalized. Finally hearing the truth they had suspected, but never confirmed. Jennifer grabbed Derek's arm again. We're leaving. Now. But Brittany wasn't done. Her voice rose, shrill with pain and rage. At least my baby won't grow up with a mother who's bitter and alone. The words were meant to hurt, meant to wound, meant to prove that Brittany had something Sloane didn't. Sloane felt the triplets press closer against her, felt Alex's steady presence beside her, felt the life growing in her belly kick. I hope your pregnancy is easier than mine was, she said quietly, especially the part where your husband is present. She turned to leave. Done with this conversation. Done with this wedding. Done with Derek's orbit. Thank you for the invitation, she said over her shoulder. Congratulations on your marriage. She walked toward the exit with perfect posture. Head high, shoulders back, not running, not fleeing, just leaving because she was done. The guests parted for her, some with shock, some with sympathy, some with what looked like respect. She had won. Not through revenge or cruelty or public humiliation, but through truth, through presence, through refusing to be erased. Behind her, she could hear Derek and Brittany's muffled arguing, Jennifer's desperate attempts at damage control, the buzz of 300 guests processing what they just witnessed. But Sloane kept walking, out of the ballroom, through the elegant lobby, into the cool night air. Alex brought the car around. Marcus appeared with their things. Rachel hugged her hard. You were magnificent, Rachel whispered. I was just honest. Same thing. They drove home in relative silence. The triplets fell asleep almost immediately. Alex's hand found hers in the darkness. How do you feel? He asked. Tired, relieved, empty in a good way. Like you can finally let it go. Like I already have. City lights passed by the window in a blur of color. Sloane watched them without really seeing. Her body ached. Her feet were swollen. The baby was kicking steadily, as if celebrating their escape. In the back seat, 3 small bodies slumped against each other, still in their formal clothes, breathing the deep breaths of exhausted children. You handled that with more grace than most people could manage, Alex said quietly. I didn't feel graceful. I felt tired. That's growth. You're tired of the drama, not addicted to it anymore. She turned to look at him. His profile was strong, steady, reliable in a way Derek had never been. I went for closure, she realized, not revenge, and I got it. In seeing Derek clearly for the first time. And what did you see? Someone who's going to repeat every mistake, who's doing to Brittany exactly what he did to me, who hasn't learned anything except how to lie better. She paused. And someone I don't care about anymore. Not with love or hate, just indifference. Alex smiled. That's the real win. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it warily, but it was Marcus. You should know, his text read, We have 3 witnesses who recorded Brittany's public statements, and 15 guests who approached me after you left, wanting to give statements about Derek's behavior during your marriage. If he tries to modify custody or support, we have documented proof of his current household stability issues. Sloan showed the text to Alex. He nodded but didn't gloat. We won't use it unless we have to, he said. The goal isn't destruction, it's protection. Another text came through, this one from Emily, Derek's cousin. Thank you for being brave enough to tell the truth. We all suspected but never heard it confirmed. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. Your children are lucky to have you. Then another from Tom, Derek's best man. I owe you an apology. Derek told us a very different story. Seeing tonight made me realize how much we enabled his lies. I'm sorry. The messages kept coming. Old friends, extended family, people who had believed Derek's narrative and were now questioning everything. Sloan didn't respond to any of them. Not yet. She needed time to process, to breathe, to be finished with this chapter before writing the next. They arrived home. Alex carried Mason. Sloan took Harper's hand. Rachel, who had followed in her car, carried Lily. Inside the pen, everything was exactly as they'd left it, but it felt different, like coming home after a long journey, familiar but also new. They put the triplets to bed without changing them out of their formal clothes. All 3 were too deeply asleep to wake. They would deal with wrinkled dresses and rumpled suits in the morning. Sloan stood in the doorway of their shared bedroom, watching them sleep. Mason with his arm flung over his head. Harper curled into a ball, Lily on her stomach, face turned to the side. 3 perfect children, 3 living reminders that something good had come from those painful years. Thank you for protecting them tonight, she said to Alex. They're my family too. I know, but you didn't have to take this on. My messy divorce, my ex-husband's drama, the complicated custody situation. I didn't take it on. I chose it. There's a difference. Alex wrapped his arms around her from behind, hands settling over her belly. Every relationship comes with history. Yours just happens to include 3 amazing kids and an ex-husband who's going to regret tonight for the rest of his life. Do you think he will? Regret it? He invited his pregnant ex-wife to show her he moved on. Instead, he showed everyone at his wedding that he's the same man he always was. His bride melted down publicly. His mother's credibility is destroyed, and 15 people are ready to testify against him in court. Alex kissed her temple. Yeah, I think he'll regret it. They moved to the terrace. The city spread out below them, lights twinkling like grounded stars. The air was cool, refreshing after the stuffy ballroom. Sloan sank into a lounge chair. Alex brought her water and a blanket, then sat beside her. I realized something tonight, she said. I wasn't fighting for him to see me. I was fighting for me to see myself. And what did you see? Someone who survived, someone who built something better from the ruins, someone who's not defined by his rejection, but by her own choices. She placed her hands on her belly, feeling the baby's movements. I used to think walking away from him was the bravest thing I'd ever do. But staying away was braver. Building this life was braver. Showing up tonight was braver. You're the bravest person I know. I'm not brave, I'm just tired of being scared. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a number she didn't recognize. She almost ignored it, then curiosity won. The text read, Mrs. Sterling, this is Diane Cooper, the wedding planner. I've worked 300 weddings. That was the most honest one I've ever seen. Brides usually hide the cracks. You showed up and revealed them just by existing. Congratulations on your real happy ending. Sloan showed Alex. They both smiled. She's not wrong, he said. You didn't create any drama tonight. You just existed. And that was enough to unravel years of lies. Another call came through, this time from Catherine. I'm so proud of you, her mother said without preamble. Your father would have been proud too. Standing up for yourself and your children. I almost broke down 3 times, but you didn't. That's what matters. Catherine paused. How are the children? Sleep, exhausted, but okay. And you? Sloan considered the question. How was she? I'm okay, really okay. Not performing okay, actually okay. Good, that's all I wanted to hear. Now go rest. You've earned it. They said their goodbyes. Sloan set down her phone, determined to ignore any other messages tonight. But one more came through, this one from Jennifer. I owe you an apology. One I should have given 2 years ago. You were right about Derek. You were always right about him. I'm sorry I couldn't see it. I'm sorry I didn't protect my grandchildren. I hope someday you can forgive me. Sloan stared at the message. Jennifer, who had blamed her, who had called her difficult, who had taken Derek's side in everything. She typed back, your grandchildren are always welcome in your life, but our relationship needs better boundaries. I'll have Marcus reach out to schedule supervised visits. It was more than Jennifer deserved, but it was also what was right for Mason, Harper, and Lily. They deserved to know their grandmother, even if that relationship needed structure and limits. The baby kicked hard. Sloan laughed. I know, you want me to rest. Alex helped her up. They went inside, leaving the city lights behind. In the bedroom, Sloan changed out of the designer dress and into soft pajamas, washed off her makeup, let down her hair, became herself again instead of the performance she'd maintained all night. Alex was already in bed, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she entered, smiled, set the tablet aside. She climbed in carefully, arranging pillows to support her belly and back. Alex turned off the lights, then pulled her close. You know what's wild? Sloan said in the darkness. For years, I thought his rejection broke me. Today, I realized his rejection freed me. Not because he didn't want me, but because I finally stopped wanting him to. The words hung in the air, truth distilled to its essence. That's the real opposite of love, Alex said. Not hate, indifference, and you finally arrived. She really had. The next morning, her phone was full of messages. People apologizing, people offering support, people admitting they'd been wrong about her. She read through them all, responded to some, ignored others, let the rest wait, because she had 3 children who needed breakfast, a baby who needed preparation for, a life that demanded her presence and attention and love. Derek's wedding was over. His chapter in her story was closed. And her own story, the one she was writing without him, was just getting good. 2 weeks passed before Derek's attorney filed a response. Sloan sat in Marcus's office, her belly even rounder now, reviewing the documents. Alex sat beside her, reading glasses on, making notes. He's withdrawing the motion, Marcus said, keeping the original child support agreement. No modifications. Why, Sloan asked. Because 15 witnesses documented his financial stability at the wedding. Because his bride's public meltdown was recorded by multiple guests. Because his mother admitted to you that there's a new baby coming, proving he's not in financial hardship. Marcus smiled. And because I made it very clear that we would present all of this in court if he pushed forward. So we won. You won the moment you walked into that wedding with your head high. This is just paperwork confirming it. Alex took her hand. How do you feel? Sloan considered the question. She had asked herself variations of it every day since the wedding. How did she feel? Free, she said finally. I feel free. Life continued. The Triplets had their 5th birthday party in the backyard, complete with a bouncy castle and entirely too much cake. Derek was invited but didn't show. Jennifer came, awkward but trying, slowly rebuilding trust. Sloan's new baby arrived 3 weeks early. A girl, healthy, loud, perfect. They named her Hope. The Triplets were thrilled. Mason took his role as big brother seriously. Harper sang to the baby constantly. Lily sat beside Sloan during feedings, just watching with those observant eyes. 6 months after the wedding, Rachel forwarded Sloan an Instagram post. Brittany had posted a photo of herself alone with a lengthy caption. Learning that sometimes the prize you win isn't what you thought it would be. Working on being the woman I want my daughter to see in the mirror. Doing this alone because that's what strong women do. Alone, the word jumped out. Did they separate? Sloan asked. According to Derek's cousin Emily, yes. 3 months ago, right after Brittany had the baby. Apparently Derek is now with someone from his gym. Rachel's tone was dry. Shocked, truly shocked. Sloan felt something twist in her chest. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just sad recognition. The pattern continued. Derek would repeat it until he died or grew up, and women would keep believing him until they learned better. Should I reach out to her, Bo? Sloan had asked Alex that night. Do you want to? I don't know. Part of me wants to warn her that it gets better, that leaving him was the best decision I ever made, that she's not alone. And the other part? The other part remembers that she knew he was married when she started sleeping with him, that she helped destroy my family, that I don't owe her anything. Both can be true, Alex said gently. She made terrible choices, and she's also a young mother learning the same lessons you learned. You get to choose what relationship, if any, you want with that truth. And Sloan thought about it for days. Finally, she sent a simple message. If you need resources for single mothers, I know some good organizations. Your daughter deserves you at your best. You deserve to be happy. Derek doesn't define either of those things. She didn't expect a response, but one came. Thank you, I'm sorry, for everything. You tried to show me, and I was too angry to see it. Sloan read the message 3 times, then typed back. We both survived him. That's what matters now. She didn't want friendship with Brittany, didn't want an ongoing relationship, but she also didn't want to carry anger, didn't want bitterness poisoning the beautiful life she'd built, so she offered grace, and then moved on. A year after the wedding, Sloan received an invitation in the mail. Not from Derek, from Emily, his cousin. She was getting married, and she wanted Sloan there. You showed me what strength looks like, Emily wrote in the note. Not just surviving, but thriving. I broke off my engagement with someone who treated me like Derek treated you. I have found someone better, and I want you there to celebrate with me because you helped me believe better was possible. Sloan RSVP'd yes. This time she went to the wedding with no hidden agenda, no performance, no proving anything, just celebrating someone else's happiness. And when people asked about Derek, about the infamous wedding, about everything that happened, Sloan answered simply, that was a long time ago. I'm focused on my present now. Because she was. The past didn't haunt her anymore. Derek didn't define her. The years she lost to him didn't diminish the years she gained without him. She had 4 children, a husband who showed up, a career she loved, a mother who was proud of her, a best friend who made her laugh, a life so full that looking back required conscious effort. One evening while cleaning out a closet, she found the wedding invitation. Rose gold calligraphy. Elegant cardstock. The invitation that had undone her a year ago. She looked at it for a long moment, remembered the panic, the spiral, the performance, the revelation, the freedom, then she threw it away. Not with anger, not with ceremony, just a simple, practical disposal of something that no longer served any purpose. What you doing? Harper appeared in the doorway, now 5 years old and endlessly curious. Just cleaning out old things. Can I help? Absolutely. They worked together, Harper chattering about kindergarten and her friends and the game she wanted to play later. Normal 5-year-old conversation. Nothing weighted or complicated. This was what she'd fought for. Not dramatic confrontations or public victories. Just this. Simple, peaceful, uncomplicated love. That night, after all 4 children were asleep, Sloan stood on the terrace again. The city lights were as beautiful as ever. Hope was in Alex's arms, fighting sleep. The baby monitor showed Mason, Harper, and Lily peaceful in their beds. Do you ever regret it? Alex asked. That whole first marriage, the years with Derek. Sloan thought about it, really thought about it. I regret the pain, the wasted time, the self-doubt he planted that I'm still pulling up like weeds. She paused. But I don't regret the outcome, because it led me here, to this moment, this family, this life. Would you do anything differently if you could go back? I'd leave earlier. I'd believe myself sooner. I'd stop apologizing for taking up space. She smiled, but I don't need to go back. I'm exactly where I need to be. The baby finally gave up fighting and fell asleep. Alex laid her in the bassinet inside, then returned to the terrace. You know what the wedding planner said? Sloan remembered. That I revealed the cracks just by existing. That I didn't create drama. I just showed up, and the truth became obvious. She was right. I spent so many years trying to be small, to fit into Derek's version of who I should be, to not make waves or ask too much or expect basic decency. She leaned against Alex. I finally understand that the prison door was unlocked all along. I was my own warden. But not anymore. Not anymore, Alex agreed. They stood there for a long time, just existing together. No performance, no agenda, no proving anything. Just two people who had found each other after surviving their own separate storms, who had built something good from broken pieces, who showed up for each other every single day without fanfare or complaint. This was the real happy ending. Not the dramatic confrontation, not the public vindication, not even the new marriage and new baby. Just peace, just presence, just the radical act of choosing herself every single day and building a life so good that the past couldn't touch it. Sloane placed her hand on her heart, felt it beat steady and strong. I chose impossible, she whispered to the night sky, to herself, to anyone who needed to hear it. And it turns out that was the only choice that mattered. The city lights twinkled, the baby breathed softly, the triplets dreamed peacefully. And Sloane Mitchell Sterling, 32 years old, mother of four, wife to a man who actually loved her, stood in her own life and finally felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Not in spite of what she'd survived, but because of it. The wedding invitation was in the trash. The chapter was closed. The story continued. And this time she was writing it herself. And that's where Sloane's story brought her, not to revenge, not to bitterness, but to peace, to the radical realization that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And sometimes choosing yourself is the bravest thing you can do. Now, if this story moved you, if you saw yourself in Sloane's journey, if you felt that moment when she finally chose impossible and made it possible, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button because it tells me these stories matter. Drop a comment telling me which moment hit you hardest. Was it the wedding confrontation? The bathroom breakdown? That final realization on the terrace? I read every single one. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, someone who's still playing small, still apologizing for existing, still trapped in someone else's narrative, share this with them. Sometimes we need permission to choose ourselves. Consider this their permission slip. Subscribe if you want more stories about women who survived what should have broken them, who built empires from ruins, who proved that walking away isn't giving up, it's leveling up. Your next story is already waiting. I'll see you there.